Hello, Math 8 students. This is Mrs. Youd. Today I'm going to teach you Chapter 6, Lesson 1, which is about relations and functions. Please take out your spiral notebooks and your RPJs. Open up your spiral notebooks to a nice clean page and put this at the top of the page for the title. Let's start with some vocab words. So first we have inputs and outputs. When we're thinking about a function, the inputs are all of the x values that go into the function, and the outputs are all of the y values that come out of the function. A relation pairs the inputs with its corresponding outputs. You can have a relation be shown in a couple of different ways. One way to show a relation is with a set of ordered pairs. Here's a set of 3 ordered pairs. So I have in this set the first numbers, remember, are my x values, which are the input, and the y numbers here are my output, making a mapping diagram. So I'm going to take these same 3 ordered pairs and change it into a mapping diagram. So here's what a mapping diagram looks like. You're going to have a rectangle that is as long as however many inputs you have. In this case, since I have 3 inputs, I wanted to make my rectangle so that I could write 3 different numbers going down that. And then I'm going to have another rectangle next to it, like so. So this first rectangle will represent the input, and the next rectangle will represent the output. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my input numbers into the first rectangle. So we have 0, 1, and 2. And my output numbers into the second rectangle, which is 1, 2, and 4. Where did I get those numbers from? Well, the input numbers are 0, 1, and 2 because 0 is here, 1, and 2. My output numbers are 1, 2, and 4 because I have a 1, a 2, and a 4. Now the last thing that we do is we want to draw arrows that connect them. Now in this case, the arrows are just going straight across, but it's not always that neat and easy. You'll see some other mapping diagrams where the arrows are crossing over each other or coming out for the same number or going into the same number as well. So the last vocab word I want to talk about is the word function. You're going to be hearing this word a lot for the rest of this year and for many more years in the future, especially when you get into Algebra 1 next year. A function is a relation that pairs each input value with one and only one output value. It's important to note here that the input is the only one that you need to be looking at. If the input value is paired with more than one output, it's not a function. Please pause the video and write down these 2 examples for me. Okay, so we're going to try and determine if these are functions. So remember, a function is a relation that pairs each input with exactly one output. So 9 is only paired to 0. -2 is only paired with 5. 5 is only paired with 10. And 12 is only paired with 10. So you'll notice that both 5 and 12 share the same output. That's okay. This is still a function because 5 has only one output and 12 has only one output. So we would say this is a function because each input has only one output. -2 has only one output. -1 has only one output. And 1 has only one output. Notice I skipped 0 because, 0 has 2 outputs. 0 could either be a 5 or it could be a 6. So that means that this example is not a function because 0 has 2 outputs, which are 5 and 6. Please pause the video and prepare for this next example by drawing a graph and writing the words mapping diagram. So if I'm asked to write a mapping diagram and I've given a graph, the easiest way to do this is to first find the points of the graph. So this point here is -6, -3. So I'm going to write -6, -3. And then we have -3, -2. And we have 0, -1. We have 3, 0. And 6, 1. Now to draw my mapping diagram, I'm going to put my two rectangles here, and I need to put my inputs in. Remember, the inputs are all of my x values. So I have -6, -3, 0, 3, and 6. My outputs are all of my y values, so I'm going to put -3, -2, -1, 0, and 1. Now I need to draw my arrows. So I notice that -6 is paired with -3. So I'm just going to have an arrow pointing there. -3 is paired with -2, and 0 is paired with -1, 3 is paired with 0, and 6 is paired with 1. So in this case, my arrows are just going straight across. Is to describe the pattern of the inputs and the outputs. So I first need to take a look at my input numbers and see how are they related to one another, what happens. So if I take a look at this, I see that I go from -6 up to -3, and then up to 0, and then up to 3, and then up to 6. Hopefully you can see that we are adding 3 each time. So each time we are adding 3. Now let's take a look at our output values and see how those change. So our output values go from -3 to -2. Looks like we're adding 1 there. Now let's see if it continues with that. -2 goes up to -1. Yep, we're adding 1. And -1 goes up to 0, also by adding 1. And lastly, 0 goes up to 1, also by adding 1. So here's my rule. We're going to say as the input increases by 3 each time, the output increases by 1 each time. Please open up your RPJ and turn to page 124. For the first two questions, we need to list the ordered pairs shown in the mapping diagram, and I added an extra piece. We need to find out if it's a function and explain. So let's first look and see number 1. I notice that I have 4 arrows in number 1. That means that to write my ordered pairs, I need to have 4 ordered pairs. So now I just need to see how they are related to each other. The 2 points to the 3. So that means 2, 3 is one of my points. The 4 points to the 5. So we'll have 4, 5. The 6 points up to the 1, so we'll have 6, 1. And lastly, the 8 points to the 7, so we'll have 8, 7. Now we need to decide if it's a function. I have 2 only pointing to 3. 4 is only pointing to 5. 6 is only pointing to 1. And 8 is only pointing to 7. So yes, this is a function because each input has only one output. Please pause the video and do number 2 on your own. For my answers, I got 0, 7, 1, 8, 5, 1, and 6, 7. Yes, this is also a function because each input has one output. Remember, it's okay for the two inputs to be pointed to the same number. 0 has only one output, and that output is 7. 6 has only one output, and that output is 7. What you can't have is if I had another arrow coming from the 6 also to the 8, then it would not be a function because 6 is shared by 7 and 8. Let's take a look at number 3. We have a map. We need to draw a mapping diagram for this graph, and we need to describe the pattern. So I only have 3 points, so I'm just going to write my 3 points here. I have 1, 8. And then I have 3, 6. And lastly, I have 5, 4. Okay, so now I need to draw my mapping diagram. So I need 2 rectangles, and I'm going to put my inputs in one rectangle, and my output in the other. My inputs are 1, 3, and 5. So I will write 1, 3, and 5. My outputs are 8, 6, and 4. So I'm going to write 8, 6, and 4. 1 is paired with 8, so I have an arrow pointing from 1 to 8. 3 is paired with 6. And lastly, 5 is paired with 4. Now I need to find the pattern. So let's see if we can find our pattern here. What's happening between 1 and 3 is that we're adding 2 each time. And between 3 and 5 is also adding 2. Between 8 and 6, we're subtracting 2. And between 6 and 4, we're also subtracting 2. So what we would write for our pattern is, as the inputs increase by 2 each time, the outputs decrease this time by 2. For this video, we're going to skip number 4 at the bottom. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.